Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. We got the big four. G7 country will have a CBDC in 2024. XRP ETF and a Ripple IPO by April. Could we see a $33 to $188 plus XRP this year? I don't know, but we're going to try and find out. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back. You know if you know, right? If you're my age, you know where that's coming from right there. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. $1.73 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off 0.8%. 43,600 plus for Bitcoin and 2,200 plus for Ethereum right now. 92.6 billion plus for Tether market cap. Number 6 spot is 56 cent XRP right now, off by 3.9 to 24 hour, off by 11.3 on the 7-day. The range of price currently right now between 56 and 59 cents. We're going to keep an eye on it. We have some fun stuff to look at today. You're going to like it a lot. But let's start right here as Ripple CEO liked and retweeted the idea that John Deaton should unseat Senator Elizabeth Warren. Well, listen here. I love this notion, ladies and gentlemen. I said this the other day. I think it'd be great to see John Deaton run against Elizabeth Warren. I have always wanted to help unseat a worthless senator. And this would be a great place to start. And I think John Deaton would do an amazing job for the people in Massachusetts. At least 3 SEC commissioners are for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Take a quick listen to this quick clip from Paul Barron right here.
Is this right here. At least 3 SEC commissioners now are for the SEC ETF approval. If this is the case, the question is, which commissioners are this? And you got to kind of be cautious here because we could also get a rug pull under one of these commissioners as well. And you think about Hester Pierce. She's been very vocal and I would say pro, Bitcoin and in general blockchain, but also UADA. We've reported both on these, but I'm kind of curious who is that number 3, if in fact this is going to be the case. And remember that UADA, I'll kind of highlight a couple of points from this report right here. On the heels of a very successful Star Wars and that 77 fan, excitement was high, delight of millions of children in that holiday season. This is UADA. This is a guy. He's a Star Wars fiend. So interesting that they actually brought that out on the SEC's website. And one of us can speak to this enthusiasm. What he's talking about is the enthusiasm for these markets and the potential for the collectible side and all that kind of stuff. So it really plays into an interesting position.
Look, this is exciting. I wanted to play the whole clip, and shout out to Paul Barron. He does such a great job. I really do enjoy his work. Which commissioners, right? And we always keep hearing, don't put it past the SEC to try to do a rug pull and deny this. And shout out to XRP Drops for retweeting the Paul Barron clip and the post that I had yesterday, which I covered in this morning's thing. Look, if the SEC does this rug pull, which they could certainly do, because they're not a fan of this, the court has pushed them into this moment. But if they do that, the SEC runs the risk of being sanctioned from crypto altogether because their actions have been called out by multiple judges in different cases at this point. This here from Eleanor Tarrant, shout out to you, Ellie, says RE Bitcoin spot ETFs expected some amended 19B4 filings today, as well as some 11th hour phone calls concerning comments on S1s and possible launch dates. The timeline for approvals still looking like next week, but will all depend on how fast the SEC can read through comments and amendments made today. And goes on to say, because this is from this morning, it really is just a dotting the I's and crossing the T's situation now. That's where I think this is. I think that is the most accurate reflection of exactly where we are. This is down to the wire, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. I absolutely do believe this is going to happen. I can't be completely shocked if the SEC takes a rug pull stance, but I also know what's at stake for the SEC should they try a drastic measure like that. We shall see by next Wednesday at the latest. Then there's this right here. It's Ben Armstrong, right? It's Ben Armstrong. Shout out to you, Ben. And I want you to hear this clip where he talks about speaking to someone who has told him that there could be an ETF for XRP, a spot ETF for XRP approved by April, along with a Ripple IPO. Now, if that is the case, you have to wonder, will they IPO? Because it seems to me from the tone of Brad Garlinghouse that they won't IPO without some kind of resolution to the final piece of the case. So could we see that final piece of the case resolved, then an IPO and the creation of and launching of an XRP ETF? All of these things are worth considering, but take a listen here to this clip.
We give you a bearish prediction, just go get a range, okay? But the fact is this, the way that I'm approaching this bull run, and I may be wrong about this, a lot of you guys know that I have been back in touch with Mr. X, and Mr. X has implied a few things to me that are quite interesting. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen for sure, because I made that mistake last time. But he's already shown me some really interesting stuff. I'm going to be having on a video for you guys about China. But the thing is that when it comes to the ETF, we are making the assumption on this market that we're going to get a Bitcoin ETF very soon, this week, today, tomorrow, next week, whenever. And then at the end of the cycle, we might get the approval for the Ethereum ETF.
Keep listening.
Now, we've all been working on that assumption. But here's the thing, guys. BlackRock. BlackRock. That's right. They're the ones with the Ethereum ETF application, and it's going to get reviewed here pretty freaking soon. And we know the BlackRock was the linchpin that caused the pivot change and all of this talk about, ETFs. All of a sudden, it went really bullish when BlackRock got involved. So, what if the Ethereum ETF is approved by the end of January, or even by the end of February? What if they launch the Bitcoin ETFs, and then the BlackRock ETF gets its unfair competitive advantage by getting the early time of getting the first ETF because they didn't give it to them for Bitcoin? Didn't think about that one, did ya? And check this out. Here's the thing. I told you guys that I thought probably the next ETF for consideration was gonna probably be Solana, or it could possibly be Cardano. There's some other, Polygon I think is a sneaky one. Chainlink, right? Maybe, who knows? But sometimes you gotta drive fast. Scream, drive faster. So here's the thing. What if, what I've been hearing, it's not those coins. It is, in fact, XRP. And I am hearing some whispers, not just from Mr. X, from a couple other sources, that there could be, it could be getting lined up right now for an ETF for XRP. Now, imagine if Ethereum gets an ETF approved, an XRP ETF could be coming quickly after, and Ripple IPOs on top of it. All of that could potentially happen before the halving, and this could lead to the halving being the top of the market. That would be crazy if it happens. And it's hard to imagine that cutting the supply of Bitcoin in half, cutting the emission rate, or bringing in half as many Bitcoin per day on average as you were bringing the day before when the halving occurs. That constriction of supply, or the constriction of the expansion of supply, would not have a massive effect on the price. But Adam Back predicted Bitcoin to $200,000 by the halving. Some other people have made some predictions like that. It's important to note that there's a very strong possibility that our halving pullback could be extremely strong and could actually wreck the bull market if the prices get too over-exasperated in the beginning. Or it could lead to a super cycle, so who knows. But either way, if XRP comes out and is able to do an IPO on the back of an ETF application, from, of course, Ripple itself would not be doing the ETF application, it would be BlackRock. This could send the price of XRP absolutely skyrocketing. I don't even want to talk about what numbers, because I'm embarrassed to hope on these numbers.
Look, I don't know if those things will happen, but if we just take the idea of whether they happen in succession and tight window like he's talking about or not, I definitely think it would be massive to see an XRP ETF and that new use case demand for that product creating scarcity and demand there will be a huge upside pressure to the market. I could see that for sure. Not to mention that if we have an IPO, it would speak even more to me in the direction of understanding that the case would be resolved, hopefully, in order to go for the IPO, and we are clear sailing. So I couldn't see nothing but upside from that too. Just like I see from this. Pegah Soltani from Ripple links an article, Who Will Drive Stablecoin Innovation in 2024, and predicts wider adoption in non-G7 markets. The article explains Ripple's Palau stablecoin and other issues in Circle as well. This is from American Banker here. She says stablecoins will have a breakout year in 2024 thanks to their underlying utility and inherent stability, especially within emerging markets. Looking ahead, it's likely we'll see stablecoin usage in non-G7 markets take off, providing more flexibility, accessibility to crypto on a global scale. I recently shared my thoughts on stablecoin market outlook with American Banker. There are a lot of great innovators driving stablecoin adoption forward in the year ahead, from traditional finance veterans to crypto industry heavyweights and beyond. Looking forward to another big year of payments innovation. Absolutely. Shout out to Pegah Soltani for that. And that is really bringing me to this, right? Because we're talking about stablecoins. We're talking about representing a pegged version of a fiat dollar in most of the instances that we're discussing here, certainly for this conversation, right? But then that brought me to this older conversation. Shout out to Mr. Hubert for sharing this. But this is an older conversation from a few years ago with Chris Larson discussing what his vision was for XRP and how it could work within the system, like the Swiss franc and the level of liquidity here. Now, this is quite interesting here. A realistic long-term outlook on the most bullish price scenario for XRP. I have no special knowledge or competence, says Mr. Hubert, for you to base any value on this analysis. I just answered the question of how high does Chris Larson think the XRP price could realistically go. We can't know, but it's very likely that we can approximate Larson's thought process in 2020, 21, and 2022. He compared XRP to the Swiss franc for 3 times now, and he knows his customers, even those under NDAs. He will have done his bookkeeping. His ultimate scenario, which he makes public, is that XRP could be a currency like the Swiss franc. But what does that mean? There are around 87.2 billion Swiss francs in circulation, taking into account Switzerland's equity ratio, which is around 5%. This results in a maximum Swiss franc liquidity of $1.743 trillion, or around $2 trillion in cash, if you just want to round a number up simply there. With a market capitalization of XRP and an assumed XRP circulation of 60 billion, the most realistic and bullish scenario would mean a price of around $33. And I'm not saying this will happen. I'm just saying this is the most bullish one may assume based on Chris Larson's public statements. So this is really, really very interesting. Let's take a quick listen to this clip from Chris Larson from a few years ago. And I'm loving the way Mr. Hubert broke these numbers down. And we have some more numbers to look at too. But listen to this quick clip here.
About the future of cryptocurrencies, where do you see the future of these digital assets and maybe the role of Bitcoin and Ripple or XRP in that future?
Yeah, so our view is that these digital assets really become supplemental to the existing family of currencies, right? So every country still needs its own, fiat currency for all kinds of reasons. I won't get into it. It's very complicated, right? And I actually think that the big four, the yen, the euro, the dollar, the RMB, they actually, I think, come stronger in this world that we're going into, partially because of digital assets.
Okay.
That these digital assets actually contribute to a world that's more interoperable, where more people around the globe can get access to these big four. And most of global commerce is done in the big four. So I think you have a bifurcation going on. Those big four get stronger. I think some of the smaller currencies, maybe even more of the very small fiat currencies, become less relevant, maybe even disappear. A country could have its own fiat, but still use one of the big four. You have lots of
like
examples.
Montenegro, right?
Absolutely.
Which Montenegro has now, since this conversation, actually become a partner with Ripple.
But I think then where the digital assets fit in, like things like XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're kind of in that mid-range. They become, I think, like the Singapore dollar or the Swiss franc, and they become useful in kind of lubricating the world to make it easier for those big four to get in the hands of people all around the world. So that's useful. And then it might also be things like applications and devices that maybe primarily use one of those digital assets. So that's kind of the view we have. So I think in that world, countries should be less threatened by what's going on and see them as simply supplemental rather than a threat. Too much talk about it being a threat. Our industry has done a bad job in too much bravado and chest pounding, and it's just kind of silly.
It is. And you know what? What a great breakdown by Mr. Hubert coming out with a $33 XRP by his estimation of Chris Larson's words and basing things off of the current conditions of the Swiss franc and a 60 billion circulating supply for XRP. I decided for a fun, quick exercise to put the $2 trillion that Mr. Hubert came up with in the store of value and the daily transaction volume. And I put 50 billion for circulating supply because it's closer to where we are right now at 48. So I put it at 50, and then I hit calculate and came up with $188 XRP according to the Susan Athey, Robert Mitchnick calculator that has been developed from board of directors Susan Athey and former Rippler Robert Mitchnick, now head of digital assets at BlackRock. So that's interesting too, right? Then we come to this reminder right here. A G7 country will have a blockchain-enabled CBDC by the end of this year, ushering in a new age of government-backed digital currencies. This is Rob Grant, the VP of Global Public Policy at Ripple. So, whether we're looking back to get a picture of how far we've come to where we are today, or whether we're looking forward from today into this year and beyond, I like where we're at right now, and I certainly love all of these estimations of where we could be not too very long from now. None of us know where we're going and where it'll absolutely shake out, but I know one thing. We're not going back the other way. The world isn't getting less digital. The world isn't getting less technical. This is absolutely going this way. The question is how much market capture will Ripple, the company, be able to get, and how much market capture will XRP be able to capture as a bridge currency moving forward in this new system? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I hope you will join us in the Freedom Zone. This is the only place that you will really have free speech, ladies and gentlemen, because it does not exist on social media and YouTube. And let me give you a point to understand here. Recently, there has been a gentleman and his actions on a private island. His initials are J and E. You know who I'm talking about. And you know what kind of trafficking was going on in that ring, right? You know what was happening there. Well, I already know now that because of the wave of information that's been making its way out into the world, that the algorithms for social media and YouTube are now suppressing if you put certain things in your title. Oh, don't believe it. It's still true. And this is why we've created the Freedom Zone. Because even when you think it's safe to have that conversation, trust me when I tell you, someone's tracking it and making a dossier against you and I. No question about that. So better that we have this conversation in the Freedom Zone, which is where we're headed right now. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.